Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Conversations with Chan. I will have to say that this guest is simply amazing. Like once you read, I normally, I read the bios. I don't read the bios beforehand. So as I'm opening up and I'm reading this morning, I am like in awe. Um, this gentleman is simply amazing. So Terry Tucker is his name. And I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you about what he does and what he has done and, what he's currently doing now. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, Chandra, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to talking to you today. I'll give you the Reader's Digest, the
Yeah.
short version and stuff like that. So I was born and raised in Chicago. I am the oldest of three boys. You cannot tell this from looking at me, but I'm 6'8" tall. And I played college basketball at the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, despite having three knee surgeries in high school. When I graduated from college, I moved home to find a job. Now, I'm really going to date myself now. This was long before the internet was available for me, and I was all set to make my mark on the world with my newly obtained business administration degree. And, I look back now and realize what a knucklehead I was to think I knew anything about business just because I had a degree. Fortunately, I was able to find that first job in the corporate headquarters in the marketing department of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain. Unfortunately, I ended up living with my parents for the next 3.5 years as I helped my mom care for my father and my grandmother, who were both dying of different forms of cancer. In terms of my professional career, as I mentioned, I was in marketing with Wendy's. I was a hospital administrator. Then I did a major pivot and became a police officer and was an undercover narcotics investigator. I was a SWAT team hostage negotiator. I then started my own school security consulting business, was a high school girls basketball coach, been a motivational speaker. Last year became an author, but for the last 9, I guess almost 10 years now, I've been fighting this very rare form of cancer. And then finally, my wife and I have been married for 28 years. We have one child, a daughter, who's a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy and is an officer in the new branch of the military, the Space Force.
Wait a minute. One, I'm gonna go back to the Space Force because I'm excited about that because I want to know what they actually do. Because if it is, I think I've passed the age requirement, but I wouldn't mind working and seeing what they do over there at the Space Force. Because if it's in my head, it's something like the Jetsons and all that. But that's just me and my imagination. But you've had a amazing journey. Like that's I look at it and it's like that's something that will keep you motivated and will keep you going because you've had so many different chapters and you have so much knowledge. Okay, you have a lot to share because I really think that people need to understand, like, if you look, you could guide so many people, like, just in conversation. Like, I just want to, we could sit and talk for hours because I would like to ask you, like, because I look at my career and how it's actually how it interlocks with the different things. And I think, if you look back at your career, you could find a common thread in every single thing. They all connect. And it's like, wow. So first things first, I really want to, like, what inspired this your book? What inspired you to write Sustainable Excellence? Like, what was the catalyst that made you put pen to paper?
So actually, the book was born out of two stories. One, actually two conversations. One was with a former basketball player that I had coached who had moved to the Colorado area where my wife and I live. And we had dinner with her and her fiance. And I remember saying to her one day, I'm really excited that you're living close because I can watch you find and live your purpose. And she got real quiet for a while. And then she kind of looked at me and she's like, well, Coach, what do you think my purpose is? I said, I have no idea what your purpose is, but that's what your life should be about, finding the reason you were put on this earth and then living that reason. So that was one conversation. The other one was with a young man in college who reached out to me and he asked me what I thought were the most important things for him to know to not only be successful in his job or in business, but in life overall. And I didn't want to give them the, get up early, work hard, help others kind of stuff. Not that those aren't important. They are. They're very important. But I wanted to see if I could maybe go deeper in a little way with him. So I thought about it for a while and I took some notes. And eventually I had these 10 thoughts, these 10 ideas, these 10 principles. And so I sent them to him. And then I kind of stepped back and I was like, I've got a life story that fits underneath this principle, or I know somebody whose life emulates that principle. So literally, I as mentioned, battling this rare form of cancer. In 2020, I had my left leg amputated above the knee. And during the time I was healing from that, and before I started chemotherapy for the tumors that I have in my lungs, I literally sat down at the computer every day and I built stories underneath these 10 principles. And that's how sustainable excellence came to be.
Listen, I will say that right, you had a major change, like with the battle with it, it's like that is something like because most of the time when people say, oh, we talk about cancer, we say, well, I'm sorry to hear that, or I'm sorry, and it's like I don't want to say I'm sorry, because it's like I don't, it's like that it but I feel for, I don't want to say I'm sorry. I really want to, I'm a loss for words. Like I'm sorry to hear that you have that, but I know that it's a battle that you will win. You know what I'm saying? That you will win because you're not you're a fighter.
Yeah, I think so. And this is going to sound kind of weird, but I think cancer's made me a better person. And in a lot of, I mean, for me, it's made me a better person. Now, it certainly had a very negative impact on my family and things like that, but it's made me a better person. And I don't know if I would trade it. If I had the opportunity to go back and not have it, I don't know if I would, because I think it's just made me a stronger individual, a tougher individual, more determined individual. And the ability to come on shows like this with you and have a conversation. And hopefully our conversation is going to make a difference in somebody's life. And if it does that, then today's been a good day.
And that's the biggest thing because it's like there's no reason for you not to live your purpose, not to go after, to make every day better than the last, because you have that chance. And I love the fact that you had those two stories that inspired you to write the book that will continue to inspire other people to, walk in their purpose. Because a lot of times people are not motivated to do so, especially in this day and age where everything is a quick fix, or they'll follow a online guru who will give them a generic thing to look at, and so remaining mediocre is not an option anymore.
Yeah, and you're right. People kind of live a casual life.
Yep.
And because they live this casual life, their goals, their hopes, their dreams, their ambitions become a casualty of that unplanned living, and that's what I try to do, I guess, to try to motivate people and say, no, when you get to the end of your life, and I always tell this, especially to young people, if there's something in your heart, something in your soul that you really want to do, but it scares you, go ahead and do it. Because at the end of your life, the things that you're going to regret are not going to be the things you did. They're going to be the things you didn't do. And by then it's going to be too late to go back and do them.
See, why can people understand? See, that is the part that people don't understand. Like, because I've heard so many people say, I have time. I'll get to it. And I'm like, you don't know what's going to happen. We have no clue. Like, look at where we've been for the last almost 2 years. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's like, I do love the premise of motivational check. Like yes, because see, even the most, because a lot of people say, well, I don't feel like I'm going to make a difference, or I don't feel like what I'm doing. So what you do is you kind of you bring people to that realization that what they do matters.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story that kind of, I think, sort of crystallized that for me. I was I'm going through treatment now. I go every third week to have treatment for these
Mm-hmm.
tumors in my lungs. And when I met this nurse initially, she was a nurse, but she was in the unit training on how things go in the unit. And a couple months ago, she was taking care of me by herself. And she said, I've got this story to tell you, but I'm really kind of uncomfortable saying it. And I'm like, just tell me. And she's young. She's about 25 years old. And she said, well, when I first met you, I was going to get out of nursing. She said, I had a friend of mine die. I was in a very dark place. I talked to my mom and dad. I was going to quit nursing and I was going to go to work for Amazon. And she said, then I met you and I see what you go through every day and I see what you've been through. And I heard your story and I realized I was in the right place. Who's out there, that wants to be like you or wants to be like me, who we have no idea who those people are. And I think about that all the time. There was a basketball coach at UCLA back in the 1970s who had a great quote, and it went like this: a careful person I want to be, a little person follows me. I dare not go astray for fear they may go the same way. So I kind of look at that as, people are like, oh, I got time, I don't make a difference. You have no idea who you make a difference to. You have no idea who's out there who wants to be like you or me. And we just don't know who those people are. So if you live your life like, nobody cares, you're doing yourself a disservice, because there are people out there, I don't care who you are or what you do, that want to be like you.
And see, that kind of motive, that kind of speak will help will help the most, because on my darkest days, I'm not even going to, I never hide the fact, like I battle, depression, and I battle, my bipolar disorder. I battle that. And it's like some days I do have to remind myself, you have to get up and you have to keep going, because there is someone who looks like you. There is someone who's going through what you go through, that will quit. You never, I don't, you never know. And then, so that's what keeps me going, is understanding, like, yeah, I matter to something. I am, so it's like that kind of a, that reassurance of keeping that young lady in that career path. She had no clue that she was going to run into you. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't know what's laid out for us. We don't know who we're going to touch. And that is exactly why I think, you know, I was looking at something that you have that is on your site, and I think that a lot of people, when they say extraordinary lives, right, they always think there's some grand, some major thing, like, oh, I hit the lottery, or, I discovered something. But you are able to tell people that you're not just ordinary, you're extraordinary. And you, like, even it's a mindset change. And I think that you are onto something with sharing your story and then reassuring people, like, because to me, I can't stop smiling, because it's like, I was kind of I was on the fence about keeping going. Like, I wanted, this year was going to be my last year, with doing, with talking to people, because I peopled enough. But now there's no reason for me to stop. There's no reason, because I would have never met you, or, other people that have, continued to inspire me. Every time I need a moment to remind myself to keep going, there's someone that comes out of the woodworks that's like, you might not want to quit yet. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not all born with the same gifts and talents,
Mhm.
but we all have the ability to become the best person that we're capable of becoming. And that has nothing to do with, your job, or how much money you make, or where you live, or what kind of car you drive. That has nothing to do with it. It all has to do with the impact. I've always said that we're all put on this earth to serve, to whether you believe in
Yep.
God, to serve our creator, but to serve each other. And if you keep that in mind, it doesn't have to be grandiose. It doesn't have to be big.
Mm-mm.
It can be small, and you still have an impact on other people.
So my question, because in your book you have 10 principles Now, I don't want to give them all away because y'all gonna buy the book. I'm just gonna tell y'all right now. I'm one of these people like, listen, I'm gonna give you maybe one or two, but you're gonna have to go read the book to get the other 8, okay? Because this is what you have to have. And then people are like, oh, can you tell me on 10? No, you got to buy the book. Then you get
It's
all
called a
that.
teaser, right? It's a little
Yes.
teaser.
Yes, we're gonna get you where you need to go. But out of the 10 principles, can you give me 2 that you feel? I mean, every principle is they're on the same scale, but which 2 are your favorite or the ones that stand out the most for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, as an author, I've got these 10 principles. Whenever somebody reads the book, there's always one that sort of jumps out at each person. And the principles are not in any particular order. One isn't any more important than 4.
Right.
But I'll give you 2, and I'll give you the one right now that resonates with me. And it resonates with me because I've done it so many times. And it's this: most people think with their fears and their insecurities instead of using their minds. How many times have we done that? I'm scared. Yeah. You do it all the time. It's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Or what are people going to say if I do that? Or, am I going to be embarrassed? I always tell people, especially, every day of your life, you should do one thing, just one thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you nervous, that scares you a little bit, that could potentially be embarrassing for you. Because if you do that every day, you'll develop that armor, that coat of armor that you need for when the big things happen. You lose somebody close to you, or you lose your job, or we go through a pandemic, whatever that ends up being. Do one small thing every day that makes you uncomfortable. It'll make you a stronger person. So most people think with their fears and insecurities instead of using their minds as one. And then I think in another one that I'm trying to decide which one I should give you. All right, I'll give you this one. And when I was a hostage or crisis negotiator with the SWAT team, we talked about, people always say, you talked somebody out, you talk somebody off the cliff, off the ledge, whatever. We didn't really talk them out. We listened to them. We listened them out. And the thing that I think is important is the importance of listening in our lives. And it seems like, oh, that's pretty simple, right? But I'm not talking about listening to respond. It's like, hurry up, say what you're going to say because I want to get my 2 cents in. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's listening to respond. What I'm talking about is listening to understand. Okay, what did you just say? All right, let's talk about that. I may agree with that. I may not agree with that. But where are you coming from? That's listening to understand. And if we can do that as a city, as a population, as a world, we can do so much more. But right now we're just screaming at each other. And when we scream at each other, I can't hear what you're saying and you can't hear what I'm saying. So I think the importance of listening to understand would be another principle that I think is important.
Especially, that is, especially in this day and age, because everybody wants either 30 to 60 seconds or something and then they move on. But actually sitting down and take the time and having the patience to listen to someone and then, actually acknowledging and letting them know you heard them and going, I think this will change the way that people will actually be able to deal with each other. Because I've seen, you see the people who are overreacting in a store and stuff like that. If you really listen to them, they are really going through something. Like they are really, they're crying out for help, but the only way they know how to do it is to throw these adult tantrums. So, I mean, I know that's bad to say, because doesn't it look like just a large toddler just having a moment? So,
you want to give them a bottle or a pacifier,
yes,
right?
like come here, let me hold you. You need a nap, like. I know a lot of people like you are good because that's what it looks like, but they want someone to listen to them. And so this is where, this principle actually will apply. Like, just listen, not just to say your 2 cents, but actually listen to engage and let someone know, because I think we would actually stop a whole wave of these adult tantrums if we would just listen and, reassure these individuals or reassure people that you are paying attention. So I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And that's one thing I learned as a negotiator. And, people kind of ask me what is that about? And I always used to try to tell them it's kind of like the teeter-totter story, at the park, kind of one end up, one end down. When we start talking to people, their emotional side is way up in the air and their rational side is way down on the ground. And our goal is to get it to where it's at least at equilibrium, or hopefully their rational side is up in the air. Because you and I both know this, we don't make good decisions when we make decisions based with our emotional brain. We make good decisions with our rational brain. So if we can get you to the point where your rational brain is making decisions, well, you're probably going to let your hostage go, and you're probably going to put the gun down and come out and things like that. But when you're in an emotional state, that's why all we do is we ask you open-ended questions, because we just want you to talk. We want you to burn off that emotional energy so that teeter-totter, that seesaw comes to equilibrium, and we can now start making better decisions.
And that's, I'll tell people this all the time. It's like a toddler. If you burn their energy off, you'll get what you want. Because toddlers hold people hostage. And no offense to anybody with a toddler, but you know what I'm talking about. They hold you hostage. You have to do the same. Those are principles can be applied to dealing with toddlers.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But I do think you are onto something where you ask those open-ended questions to help someone to finally get their, it kind of resets your mind a little bit, so you could the puzzle can be start being put back together, because it's like a jumbled, broken pieces of a puzzle, and then you don't know what, it's so scattered. But that is a great way. See, just you actually can apply those things to other things. I do like that. So I was reading, and you have these 4 truths that guide you in your decision making. The number 2 is to embrace the pain and discomfort we all experience in life and use it to make you a stronger and more determined individual. That stood out to me because I'm still grieving. It's been, let's see, I moved here in 2013. My father passed away in 2013. And I'm still grieving it. I know it's been years, but it's something that slowly but surely I'm embracing that pain. And it's like, it does make me uncomfortable. But when I'm in the midst of making a decision that can make or break my family, could change the way that my family, and it's like, that's something that I think about. That's something that I actually go to make that choice. And it's like, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, because your 4 truths are something that, I don't know, we could put on a billboard or I don't know, we can, tell people before you go outside and you make these choices in your life, these are 4 things you need to review before you do that. So my question is, when did you, because it says in addition to your faith, because I think everybody works their own journey with the higher power of God. Me, I'm still working on my journey. I'm hoping that I'll get off the block list because, I'm saved adjacent. I'm not all the way because I'm still working on it. But your 4 truths, where did they come from? Where did they come from for you?
I think they were just things that sort of crystallized over these last 9, almost 10 years now. And I guess what I call them, they're kind of the foundation or the bedrock of my soul. They're a good place to start building a life off of. And, I'm sorry for your father's loss. My dad's been dead for 36 years and I still miss him every single day. And that's okay. And, we're all going to experience pain in our lives. And it doesn't have to be, cancer pain like mine or an illness or something like that. It could be something simple. You flunk a test at school, or you break up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, or you don't get the promotion at work that you think you deserve. Pain is inevitable. Suffering, on the other hand, suffering's optional. Suffering's what you do with that pain. Do you use that pain to make you a stronger and tougher and more determined individual? Or do you wallow in it and want people to feel sorry for you and feel sorry for yourself? It's a choice. You're looking at me right now. There's no S on my chest. I'm not wearing a cape. I have bad days. There are days I cry. There are days I get down. There are days I feel sorry for myself. Whenever that happens, I remember two stories, and I'll tell them to you real quick. One is about a professor back in the 1950s at Johns Hopkins University who did an experiment with rats. Very simple experiment. He took rats, put them in a tank of water that was over their head. He wanted to see how long those rats could tread water. And the average rat treaded water for about 15 minutes. And just as they were sinking and about ready to drown, he reached in, pulled them out, dried them off, let them rest for a while. And then he put them back in that exact same tank of water. And the second time around, those rats treaded water for 60 hours. Think about that. First time, 15 minutes. That's all I can do. I'm going to drown. Somebody reaches in and grabs me, which says to me what? The importance of hope in our lives. We got to have hope. We got to have the thought that we're moving towards something better, or life is going to get better for us. We've got to have hope. And two, just how much more our physical bodies can handle than we ever thought they could handle. And the second story kind of dovetails in with that. I have a friend who's a former Navy SEAL in the military, and they talk about their 40% rule. And these are some of the toughest soldiers that we have in our military. And whenever they get to the point where they don't think they can go on, they don't think they can run another step or swim another lap or do another push-up, they're only at 40% of their maximum. And they still have another 60% left to give to themselves. So whenever I get into those down and dark places, I remember those two stories, and those kind of motivate me to get up and keep moving forward.
That's where, okay, so it does now. See, that's the thing. Like with because it's so true. Like that, having, when somebody picks you up and you do have that hope, it is true. You can do so much more, because once you feel like you failed and then you get that second wind, that is something that I think more you are. I'm gonna say this, and this is why I love. This is why you've made me reset my joy about talking to people and conversing with people, because this is why. Because that right there within itself, it was a self check for me, because it's like, even on the days I don't feel like getting up, it just feels like one of the kids will say something to me and I'll get up, and it's like, okay, I got it. I'll say I'm tired, but they'll say something or do something, and all of a sudden I have this second wind. It's like, okay, I can get this stuff done, and I can be, what I need to be for them and for myself and for my clients. And it's like, dang, see, the way that you could change people's minds just by, dang, that was amazing. Because it's like, I can't even, like, yo, this is amazing. Because I could not do the Navy SEAL thing, because those are different kind of people.
But they are. And I guess let me pick up on that, because I've had people come to me and say, and what I've been through is not nearly what, those Navy SEALs go through. But people have said to me, Terry, I could never do what you've done. I could never go through what you've gone through. And those people bother me, because it's like, you're right. And that's usually, I usually have some kind of smart aleck response, and I shouldn't do this. It said something like, yeah, you're right. You can't, because you've already decided in your brain that you can't, that you can't do this. I remember again, I'm going to go back to a basketball analogy. There was a man by the name of Bobby Knight who coached at the University of Indiana. And he had a quote. He said, mental is to physical as 4 is to 1. So here's this man who's teaching, athletes to use their bodies to do their physical, the physical things that you do in basketball. But what he's telling you is that's not nearly as important as the mental aspect of your life. So, if you're not going to go into things in a positive way, I think back to the guys in college, who used to go out and drink, and party before a big test. And then they come into the test, and what do they say? Oh man, I'm hungover. I'm really going to bomb this test. Why would you say that to yourself? Why would you go to the negative immediately? Why wouldn't you say, well, yeah, I partied last night, but I paid attention in class. And you know what? I'm going to do great on this test. Your mind can hold one thought at a time. Why would you want to make that a negative thought?
Oh, See that right there? Like that's like the perfect quote ever because I don't like saying, oh, like because you psych yourself out. Like you've already lost. Like just go ahead, just don't even show up for the test. Like just go to sleep, enjoy your
Yeah,
night
don't
off.
spend your time. Don't waste your time. Yeah, exactly.
And this is exactly this. You know what? I really do think you need to tell a lot of people that just leave with that. Okay, if most teachers need to put that outside of their classrooms. If you already feel that you failed, don't even come in today.
Yeah. Just go home. Go to bed. Yeah.
Just go, and even at work and other things, like if you wake up in the morning and you've already told yourself today is going to be a bad day, it's what are you getting up for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo,
But people do that all the time. It's fine. And again, I think it goes back to finding your purpose, your passion, your why in your life and living it. Because if you do that, you can't wait to get up in the morning. And I guess maybe I should back up. A lot of times we equate our purpose or our why to our job. That doesn't have to be the case. Your job could be over here with what you do to pay the bills, but your purpose or your passion or your why is to write or to volunteer or to be an activist or to paint or whatever it ends up being. So don't think your job has to be your why. It doesn't. For a lot of people it is,
right,
but it doesn't have to be.
and see that. Okay, so do you speak in colleges and stuff? Do you speak to adults at the chamber? Like, I really do feel like, you could actually, I'm just going to say it, you would change a lot of people's lives. Like, I love that you've launched and written this book. And, because I tell people like this, if you write a book, you're leaving your legacy, but your voice is carrying over. And it's actually, you're able to leave a lasting mark on people. So, like, you're like
Yeah, it's funny because I remember I had my leg amputated and I was kind of staring at the ceiling, and it was kind of like, all right, God, now what? I was really kind of at a crossroads in my life. Where do I go? What do I do? I mean, I've just lost my leg. And I remember actually it was the same nurse that I told you the story about earlier. She asked me, she's like, well, what was it like? Because first I had my foot amputated and then I had my leg amputated. What was that like? And I said, don't get me wrong, it hasn't been easy. I'm still learning how to walk again. And for the most part, I'm in a wheelchair. But I said, cancer can take away all my physical faculties, but cancer can't touch my mind, it can't touch my heart, and it can't touch my soul. And that's who we are. This is just a body or a house or a vessel or whatever you want to call it to house who we are. So I'm like, yeah, cancer can take an arm or a leg, whatever it wants, but that's not who I am. So if you realize that cancer can't harm you, losing a job can't harm you. The only way it harms you is if you take it inside and you internalize it. And now it's like, oh, I'm down and depressed. No, forget about that. You're going to make mistakes. Bad things are going to happen to you. Use those mistakes to make you use that pain to make you a better person.
See that right? See, and that's exactly like, oh my gosh. Okay, that's exactly what some people do need to hear and understand. Like, you can channel that, like you said, and you just brought me back to something my dad said to me. When I was going through my divorce or whatever. He goes, okay, you're hurting now, but where are you gonna go? Like, you could lose all of this, because I was worried about losing my house. I was worried about all of that because like my marriage is ending, and this is, I have 3 kids, and I have a house, I have all of these things that I worked so hard for. He goes, but if you lose your mind, then what? Because I went through a really bad mental health break, like a mental break, and he was just like, if you lose that, then what you gonna do? Then what you're going to do? Like, you're not going to be able to enjoy all of these things. You're not going to be able to do more. And it's like, dang, you really,
your dad sounds like a very smart man.
It's like one of those, like, just listening to you just now, it's just like, yo, that is, it's one of those things. Like, I hear a lot, and it's like, dang, Dad, like, you were absolutely right. And to have someone else say it, not saying that I just didn't, that I discredited my dad. It was more of, whatever, you just saying whatever you need to say to me to get me out of this closet off the floor. Like that's what it went at that time. That's what it was. But it does make sense because all of those outside things can the physical, all of those things, but your mind is where your strength lives, and it's like, dang, that does make. I really want to say
Your
sorry.
mind is where you live. I mean, it really is. Your mind is where you live.
Gosh, I gotta apologize. I'm gonna tell my, Dad, I'm sorry. I should have listened, you know, because all I thought was he was just trying to get me off the floor. And I know, like, I think back now, like, I was, yeah, in my 20s, and I was just like, not, dang, it is so true. I'm 30 something years old, and now it's dawning on me what he was saying is,
Hey, it's not, you don't have to get it right away. Sometimes people get it years later, and that's okay, as long as you understand the message. And like I said, your dad sounds like a very smart man.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm like Abbott. I was like, dang it. This makes every time like I said, I told you I was thinking about, not doing this anymore. Every time I think of it, it's like, here I am again. Like, you might as well be playing for next year because it's like, dang, like, you're good. You have felt like you are really in your purpose. Like, this is what you are supposed to be doing. Like, I don't know. Do you offer coaching?
I really don't. I am so, like I say, every third week I'm at the hospital getting treatment, and I use these 2 weeks to heal, but I also do podcasts. And my wife and I kind of get into a disagreement. She's like, you need to rest, you need to heal, you need to get your blood counts up and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I get plenty of rest when I'm dead. And literally that's what I tell her. It's like, these give me energy. These give me a purpose. These give me something to do. Yeah, I can sit around and watch TV for 2 weeks, or I could try to make a difference in people's lives. And that's what I'm trying to do right now.
And you do, like, this was like, do you offer coaching? And it's like, you're pouring into others as you are regenerating, you're rejuvenating and you're building yourself. But, I'm hoping that, this is different. Like, to me, it's like, yo, this is, because it's like, it's the same time as you're giving to me. Like, I'm hoping that I'm giving to you as well, because, you're giving so much. I can't thank you so much. Like, I can't even, thank you, because you would have never known that you were fighting this, you would be fighting this, you're fighting a battle every day because of how much you pour out of your cup. And see, and there's people out here who are, healthy as a horse, but cannot give an ounce of what you give. So, okay, see.
It's funny. Last year, my doctor, I had all this medical stuff going on. And a couple months ago, he showed me my CAT scan from back in 2020. And I don't have any medical background. I don't know how to read these things, but I kind of know what should and shouldn't be there. And I looked back on that CAT scan, and I had fluid all around the spaces. It's called the pleural spaces in my lungs. I had these big tumors in my lungs. And I remember looking at him like, how was I alive? And he's like, I don't know. Which said to me, you know what? God's not done with me yet.
No.
And I have a very deep faith in God. And I think it's like, you know what? I'm going to keep you here, and you're going to do this. You're going to do what I tell you to do, so to speak. I always say, I wrote the book, but I think it was inspired by something bigger than me. And, I kind of joke. It's like, God said, sit down here and type what I tell you, dummy. And we'll have a book, and it'll be great.
I'm a firm believer in that, because there's no way, because it's like, because everybody's like, oh, the Bible is written by somebody. Who do you think told the people what to write? Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, you all don't understand. There is something that's tapping you on the shoulder and telling you, like, because they use, like, God uses vessels, and this is the perfect way. Like, yo, listen, my walk with faith has not been an easy one, but surely, but it's showing me, like, it's bringing me back to it, and I'm like, dang, every time, like, every single time, and I can't even thank you enough, because you truly poured it into me today, and I hope anyone who's watching, who is listening, that you all feel as much as and get as much as I have gotten out of this, because it's like, there's no reason why you don't get up in the morning and do more than you did the previous day. There's no reason to not. And so, can you, like, I definitely want to, where can people get this book or reach out to you and to touch base or to talk to you or send you well wishes and thank yous? Because I'm going to have to do that.
Sure. So the book can pretty much be bought anywhere you can get a book online. So you can get it through Amazon, you can get it through barnesandnoble.com, Apple iBooks, pretty much anywhere you can get a book through the internet, you can find Sustainable Excellence. In terms of me, I have this blog, Motivational Check, and you can reach out to me at motivationalcheck.com. My social media sites are there. You can actually get the book on my website there as well. You can leave me a note or a message, and I'd be more than happy to reach out and talk to any of your listeners or you at any time at all. You have been just a joy and so much fun to be around and to talk to today, and I appreciate it.
You know what, and like I said, I slept. I woke up, slept in a little bit, but this gives me. I can't even. It's like one of those things, like you didn't know you were hungry until you get fed, and it's like, okay, I'm full now. Now I can actually get I'm energized. And I
Good.
can get stuff done, and it's like, dang, like, because I don't read bios beforehand. I say that all the time, but this was the one time, like, I was just like, oh my gosh, this was a perfect situation, and I want to thank you so much for talking to me today and pouring into me. And this was exactly what was needed. And I hope that anyone who's listening, you all know, I'm the goofiest person ever, but every now and then I do cry, and I do. I'm always gonna be myself, but I can't even thank you enough for reaffirming some things that I need to keep doing, and pushing me now to there's no words. I can't even I want to thank you. So I thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. I know I am, and my face is I know you all can see on the video that I'm smiling. I'm trying to massage my cheeks, but I can't even thank you enough. So I look
Well,
forward
thank
to
you for having me on. I said this earlier. It really is nice people like you that allow me to come on and tell my story, and then we have a conversation. And if we make a difference in somebody's life with that conversation, you know what? Today's been a good day, and I think today is definitely a good day. And you know where to find me if you ever need me or you need to talk.
Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You do the same.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Take care.